Hello, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States. And tonight we are going to be using some new products. So let's talk about some new online exclusives. We're going to be using framed scenes. This has a die set, which should be right here. Right here. Has these 4 dies. We're going to be using that to go with that. We're going to be using fancy borders. And let's see, that is these. Okay. And then we're going to be using Pattern of Friendship and the Pattern of Friendship die. Okay, so these are going to be for our second project. So let's just set these aside here. And let's get started with our framed scenes because that's where we're going to start. All right, so for this project, we just need 2. Hello, Lynette. We just need 2 ink pads. Hang on, I did not get my Facebook group up here, so I cannot see the comments, but now I can. Okay, good. All right. It's been kind of a scramble. I've got the 2 oldest grandkids here at the moment, and I was visiting with them, and then I was like, oh, it's time to go live. Okay, so we're going to be using Smoky Slate and Garden Green, and then, of course, Memento Tuxedo Black, but that's just a basic, and I really just consider that every card. So let's grab our supplies. We don't need a ton for this one. Okay, we're going to be using the Splendid Autumn 6x6 Designer Series paper, and you might have thought that this was retired. It was in the Holiday Mini, but it is not. It is still available. I just heard a noise behind me. I was trying to figure out what it was. These are looking upside down. All right, and what we're going to be using tonight is the back side of one of these. And I've already cut that. So we're going to be using that at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Our card base is Garden Green. And this is a standard A2 size card. Hello, Jennifer. It is 5.5 by 8.5 and scored in the center at 4 1/4. And then I have a scrap piece. This is a quarter sheet, but it's really, we're going to use, we don't need the whole thing, but I just threw it out there. And this is thick basic white. Here's our Designer Series paper, cut at 3 3/4 by 5. And then I've got a piece of pecan pie cardstock that I have already cut with the frame die from the framed scenes. Okay, so that's this die here. And so when you cut it, you get this piece and then you get this piece that for the center. It cuts both at the same time. And then, of course, if you center this on a piece of cardstock, you can have another frame as well. But we're not doing that tonight. So I have actually cut this. No, I haven't cut it twice yet because we're going to do that together the second time because I want to center my image in the frame. So let's set that aside where I can find it later. Set this aside. And this, you know what, if I don't put this all back in here, 5 minutes from now, I'll be going, where did all that stuff go? Okay. And then I have a piece for the inside that is 4¼ by 5. No, 4 by 5¼ I've already stamped my sentiment on there. And this sentiment, just in case you're wondering, I could not find a decent birthday sentiment for the inside that I wanted to use. And so I pulled out one of my retired stamp sets. I know you can't get it, but my point is go through all of your stash and find what you already have on hand that will work. Okay, so I've done that, and then I lightly stamped in smoky slate this image right here over, or yeah, actually over the top of that sentiment. Okay, and then I've got a piece of that designer series paper here at the bottom. This is a 1/2 inch by 4. Okay, so that'll be the inside of our card. And as usual, I've pre-done that. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to set this die aside. We're going to take our thick basic white cardstock. I'm going to take the Memento. Hi, Tracy. Good. I'm glad you got it and you're keeping it. I was searching today for an inside sentiment because when I was making this card, I had a specific person in mind whose birthday is coming up in the next month or so, and I wanted to make sure that I had a really nice sentiment inside. So I went looking through my stash and that's what I found. Okay, so we're going to take this lighthouse scenery from the framed scenes and we're going to ink this up in Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm just going to stamp this right here. I want enough room around it that I can maneuver my die, and that looks like it's going to work perfectly for me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and color this. And if you attended the live event on Saturday, you heard me say, man, I wish I had my colored pencils. I like to use them sometimes. So here we are tonight with colored pencils. These are the Stampin' Up! Colored pencils. I can't tell you, there are 2 sets of pencils, and I can't tell you which ones these are all in. There's assortment 1 and assortment 2, and I just have a mixture. Mine are not separated, they're all together. So we are going to start with the Cherry Cobbler, and I am going to lightly color in my lighthouse in Cherry Cobbler. Now, our lighthouse is red. Some are not. I think they can be a mixture, so I'm just going to color this in how I want it. And then I'm going to leave some areas to do a different color. And then I'm going to color my, hang on, where did I put my sample card so I make sure I do what I'm supposed to do? Well, I have no idea where that went. Wow, I lost that pretty quick. Oh, there it is. Whew. Okay. And we're also going to color the lighthouse here a matching red. Okay, and then because there's a reflection in the water right here, we're going to put a very light coat of red in here. Okay, all right. And then I'm going to take and use some Daffodil Delight and color in those windows there. And I'm going to do my roof in basic gray. And with the colored pencils, the lighter you color, the lighter shade you get. The darker you color, the darker shade you get. I want that to be real light. So I'm going light. I'm going to go a little bit darker here. So it'll almost look like I have two shades of gray here. Okay. All right, so we've got that. And then we're going to take and put some of this basic gray down here on the rocks. There. Some pecan pie. I actually think pecan pie is in the new assortment one. They revamped one this year, and I believe pecan pie was in assortment one. So I've got that. Oh, wait a minute. I need to go back and put a little bit of gray on the windowsill right there. And I'm going to do the same thing here on my walk around the lighthouse. Kind of the deck, I guess. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now let's take and put some blue in the water. I've got just blue. They used to call this, I think this used to be Pacific Point, and when they retired Pacific Point, they just started calling it blue. I think it's the same one. And this, I believe, is in assortment one as well. So I'm just going to put some blue in the water. Okay. And actually, I'm going to go back and erase that because I want that red to continue. And I can just take my photopolymer eraser here, or my polymer eraser there, and erase that color. That is one of the nice things about colored pencils. And then I could just run this out a little bit because I don't know where that die is going to cut. So I kind of want to just keep that going a little bit. All right, so we've got that. Now we're going to take Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to color in this grassy area. And then I'm going to go back with my garden green, and I'm going to add in some darker areas where Stampin' Up! Has put these grass clump lines. Darken that up a bit. Okay. And then we're going to move to the trees. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put in some dark along some of these lines that Stampin' Up! Has added, and where there would be shadows. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and finish that up with the garden green. And then you're going to think, oh, the trees, the shrubs, it's all going to look the same. Hang on, I'm not finished. Okay, so now we've got that Granny Apple Green there. I've got the dark garden green. I'm going to go back and darken that up a little bit. And then I'm going to go back with my garden green, and I'm going to lightly go over all of that. And what I'm going to do is create a whole new color when I blend these together. Okay, so that looks like we have most everything colored here. I need a little bit more green in here for the background where you can see between the panels of the deck. And then, let's see, I want to do one more thing here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to darken up some of these areas of this lighthouse because I want the lighthouse to be darker than the reflection in the water. Okay, now we're using thick basic white, not watercolor paper, and I'm going to take my blender pen. These come 3 to a pack, and I'm going to lightly go over this with my blender pen. And what that's going to do is take away those pencil lines. And then if I think I need some more color here, I'm just going to go in and add that. Okay, go back with my blender pen and blend that all together. Okay, now you do have to be careful because if you do too much, it will pill. The paper will, because it isn't watercolor paper. Okay, so I've got that moved around. Let me get a scrap piece of paper here because I need to clean between using. And then I'm going to go in, do my green. Okay. And then because this is different colored, because I mixed my colors. Now, can you see the difference between what I have here and what I have here? Okay, let's go back. I'm actually not going to mess with the gray at all. The areas are so tiny that I don't need to. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start with my red in the water. Okay. And then I'll just clean up my lighthouse here. And really what this does is kind of melt that pencil pigment. Okay, so there we are. Now we have our image. Just going to clean that off on that scrap piece of paper. Now you can use the color lifter rather than the blender pen. It doesn't work quite as well as the blender pen, but if you have a nice wet color lifter, it works pretty good. Okay, so now we have our image and we can set all those aside. Now we need to cut this out. So we're going to bring this in. And I'm going to center this up how I want it. And actually, I'm going to bring back that. I'm going to use the color lifter this time. I want to bring out some of that a little bit better here. This one's pretty dry. Let me find a different one. See how this works. There we go. Now we're moving the color. Okay, and with the alcohol then, it doesn't pill the paper. It still moves the color, not quite as nicely, and it dries quickly. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and put this back up here like so. Oh, I didn't think about this. I was thinking, oh, I can run this through the mini, but you know what? Let's see. If I do this, yep, I can. Hang on, let me cut this off. I'm going to cut this right along this edge, because then I can still get this through the mini. Okay, and then we'll keep that scrap. Let me bring in my mini machine here. Got plate 1, plate 2, which I'm going to flip over because it needs to be flipped. I'm going to put this in at as much of an angle as I can. I can't do much because I'm pretty wide. By putting it in at an angle, it makes it easier to roll through your machine because it doesn't catch that hard straight edge. but okay. So then we're going to carefully remove this. And then we need this piece. Okay. So that's what we have. And then we still have this frame. So let's pop this out because we can use this for something else. Unless we've got colored pencil all over the bottom, which we do. So there we go. Probably won't be using that piece. Let's just toss that. Okay, so we've got this now. Let's go ahead, and this looked a little stark white to me. So I'm going to take some balmy blue ink, my blending brush, and I'm just going to blend on a bit of balmy blue around my sky here. I'm not going right over the top of my image, but I am getting pretty close. Okay, so now we've got a sky color, which is what we need. And we are now ready to start putting our piece together, except that we do have one more thing to stamp. We need to stamp the happy birthday. Okay, and happy birthday comes from something fancy. It's just a plain basic happy birthday. So we're going to stamp that, and we're going to do it in Memento. I'm just going to stamp that down here, like so. We're going to need the mini machine again because we need to cut this out with the something fancy dies. Okay, so I really like this one. We're going to pop this right in here. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and run a little bit of what ink is left in the brush and on my desk here over that, just so it's not stark white. And there we go. There's just a hint of color. It's not much, but it's enough so that that won't glare out at us. All right, so we'll throw that in, run that through our machine, and you can see that it goes through a whole lot smoother because we don't have any harsh edges that we have to get over the top of. Okay. So here we go. Got that. Here's this, and we have one more little bit of stamping left to do, and then we will be finished with the stamping on this card. So we're going to take our card base, we're going to bring this in, and again, this is a standard A2, 5.5 by 8.5. I pre-scored it at 4 1/4. Okay, let's bring in a piece of scrap paper. Let me grab that real quickly. I had one earlier, but it's pretty messy. Okay, and then I'm going to pull in one of my my favorite stamp sets at the moment, and that is the Elements of Text. We're going to be using this die right here. Actually, I have them both out, so we might use them both. We'll see. All right. So we're going to pull in our Garden Green. And we're going to move this over, and we're going to ink this up, stamp it off, ink it back up, stamp it off, and turn it. And rotate again. And I'm just going along the outside edge. Oops, forgot to stamp that one off. Okay, well, there we go. So that's done. And it is now ready for us. So we can bring back in our other pieces. We've got our designer series paper and our frame in pecan pie. And we're going to pop this frame up, and I'm going to use mini dimensionals. Okay. And I don't want this to sag, so it probably looks like I'm using a bunch. I just want to make sure I have enough support. Okay. Give those a good little press in. I'm just going to poke in the center of each one of those. That'll lift the edges, and then I can easily grab those off. Just makes getting those wax paper backings off a little bit easier. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and attach this piece to my card base. I want it to go this way. I have some darker blues and purples over here, so that's what I'm looking at. Just going to put that on there. I'm going to lay my happy birthday up here, about where I want it. And then we're going to center our frame below the happy birthday and the bottom of the DSP. Try to line that up straight. Okay, I haven't pressed that down yet. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got my frame raised. And now I'm going to take my artwork here. And I'm just going to put this in with some Stampin' Seal. And I'm just going to lay that right inside the frame. Line that right up. And then give that a press when I'm happy with it. Okay? Now for our happy birthday, we're going to, again, I'm going to use them, well, I don't know, can I get a full, I got a mess on the back of from my little side pieces here. Well, you know what? Let's get rid of that mess. Let's just use it. Let's just run it all the way across there. One long piece from the side and we are good. Okay, that makes it easy, gives it full support. We'll just put this in here like this. Okay, let's see what we have for texture back. This is what I want right here. The texture dots, the adhesive back texture dots. Okay, this is meant to be a masculine card for who I'm going to send it to. So I'm just going to put a couple of these up here, and a larger one down here, like so. And there is our first card. Okay, I hope you like that. And there we go. Okay, now for the inside of this card, again, I took that sentiment from the Happy Thoughts, a little bit of the same DSP, run a piece of Stampin' Seal across the top, put that in, give that a good press with our bone folder so it'll stay closed. Bring in our envelope, because what do we say? No naked envelopes. And here we go. So there is card number 1. I hope you like that with the new online exclusives that went live today, actually. So be sure to check that one out. One of the really cool things about this is that you get 2 oval dies, and these oval dies will nest. Okay, so we've got that, and they will cut some of these sceneries. Okay, so we've got that, and let's move on. Let me go ahead and put this die because we don't need it again. Move all of these things out of the way. All right, and then we'll get started with card number 2. Okay? All right, so card number 2, we have quite a few supplies that we're using for it. Shy Shamrock, Pretty in Pink, and Berry Burst are our primary colors there. We have the Fancy Border set we'll be using. So that'll be these. Patterns of Friendship. I'm going to use this as a background. And friends, or you bring so much joy and laughter to my life. We're going to use that sentiment. And then we're also going to bring in the sketched butterflies. You guys, when I was cleaning my studio yesterday, I found this in the retired section. I don't know what I was thinking, so here we are using it today. Okay, so we have for this one, let me grab my supplies over here. I got kind of a mess with all these things we need. Okay, and hopefully I remember to put the gems on. You know, that's a hit and miss thing for me. All right, so here are our supplies, other than those stamp sets that I just told you about. You're going to need a piece of gold twisted thread, and yes, I know that's on back order. Hopefully you have some in your collection or something like it. My inside piece is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. I've already stamped a butterfly and one of the, I call this a laurel sprig from the Fancy Borders. This is from Sketch Butterflies. So I've already completed that for us. Then we've got a piece of Basic White. I've got a piece of Berry Burst. And I've got a black card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so let's see what I did with the card for this one, so I know what I'm supposed to be making. All right, so we're going to start with this piece of Basic White. This is a quarter sheet. It does not necessarily need to be a quarter sheet of cardstock, but we're going to do our stamping. And then we're going to do some die cutting, and we'll actually have to use the bigger machine for this. Okay, so we're going to start with the Fancy Borders, and we are going to use this image right here. And this is one of those that I thought, oh, do I really need to get bundled? I don't really need this stamp set. And then I saw what you could do with this one. So I'm going to show you. And what I saw that you could do with this one wasn't even everything you could do. So I'm going to show it to you, so you be sure not to miss it. Okay? So let's get our Shy Shamrock. And we're going to ink this up. And you know what I'm going to do? I need to push this down. This is too inky and it's beading up on my photopolymer, which is not going to give me a good image. So I'm going to just take a spoon and I'm going to press that into my pad and push that down, and you saw how that became a different color. Lightened up the color. And then I'm going to clean all this off. I don't want all that. But I do want this to stick very well. I'm going to take this. I'm going to rub it on my forearm. And then I'm going to ink this up. Give that a good inking. And then I'm going to place this at the top of my paper, leaving myself enough room at the top so I can cut this with a die. Yes, there is a die that will cut this border out. Oh man. Paper has two sides. Let's try that again. You know what? I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. Usually I don't have trouble with the photopolymer on my glass mat, but we're going to give this a try. And then I'm going to make sure I press in the center because, I didn't. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to eyeball this and give myself about an inch. Maybe here, like so. Try and line those up so they're about even, I'm hoping. Okay, and there we go. So now I have a place in here to put my sentiment. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, but wait, there's more. Before I put my sentiment in there, I'm going to bring in the fancy borders that coordinates with this stamp set, and I'm going to take this one, which I thought was meant to make a cloud border. That's what I thought it was going to be used for. And lo and behold, this is going to line up here. Now what I suggest is that you put that in and see where these little pieces right here, this last little bend here and this last little bend here, if you lay those last little bends right about those little green dots there, that is going to give you a very good cut. Okay? And of course, to make sure it doesn't move, we're going to bring in a little bit of mint tape. Then I'm going to take this, and we're going to put this. I've got plate 1, plate 2, which I've turned over because mine is bending. And I'm going to put this on here. Then I'm going to put plate 3 on. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not. That would be dumb. I'm going to put plate 3 on first, because that's the smarter thing to do. And then I'm going to put another plate 3 on. You don't want to cut on plate 2. That would be bad. Always cut between the acrylic plates. And then I'm just going to roll this through. Okay? We're going to have to bring this back in another time. Actually, twice more. And now I have this cut. So we're going to do that one more time. We're going to turn this over, line those same points up again, give ourselves some mint tape, put this on, put on our top plate, bring in the machine, and roll that on through. Okay. We've got 2 more times we need to roll that machine through. And now we have this piece. Okay, so let's set that aside because we don't need it at the moment, because we're going to go ahead and do our background treatment. And now we have extra paper here, which we're going to reuse. Okay, now I'm going to take this and we're going to bring in our piece of, let me put this away. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to bring in our berry burst. We're going to bring in the pattern of friendship die. Okay, and I'm going to take this and I am going to line this up. Actually, for this, I'm going to flip this over just so it stays a little flatter for me. Okay, and I'm going to lay this on here how I want it. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Boop. Let me switch my plates. I'm going to go this way because I'm going to put my die up. So I want to cut on my cutting plate, not my top plate. Okay, so I'm going to line that up like that. Trying to make sure that I am about even top and bottom on these. Then I'm going to put my acrylic plate down. I'm going to hold that sandwich together. And I'm going to run this through. And it's going to be a little bit tight because I've got that solid straight line of the die on both ends. Okay, I got to stand up. Okay, so I've done that once. Okay, whoops. I moved my whole glass mat thing there. It got stuck. Okay, now I've got this, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I'm going to gently peel that up. What that has done is just put a bunch of piercings through my paper. So this is what I have, okay? And I could use this just like this. But now I'm going to take this, and where I was like this before, I'm going to turn this. Okay, so these are running crossways, and now this is up and down. So now I'm going to place this in here, and again, I'm going to line that up how I want it to look, and then I'm going to put my plate on. Okay, and again, I'm going to hold on to my sandwich. And I'm going to run that through one last time. Okay. All right. Now we are done with this. Okay. And again, I move my glass mat. Okay. So now let's set these aside. Again, I'm going to take my take your pick tool just to lift up on that corner. And I'm going to slowly peel that off the die. Okay. And this is the pattern that I now have put into my background piece. Okay? So you can do one way or you can do both, and you get two different effects. Okay, now let's see. Oh, good. I didn't have this cut to size. Yay. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead right now. I started with a larger piece of paper than I needed. And I'm going to take a look at this. And I want this to go to 4. And right now, let's see, I am at 4 and this is a weird sized piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to cut about, I don't know, I'm going to cut about 3/16 off that side and about 3/16 off of this side. And I'm going to go a little bit more. This one's not going to be perfect. It's okay. Okay, and then I'm at 5. Wow, how could I end up with such a weird size? Okay, let's do it again. Go with that. Then we're going to cut this down to 5 1/4. Oops, we went a little bit smaller. Oops. Okay, well, let's go a little bit smaller here. We're okay. It's all right. If you make those mistakes, we can fix it. All right. Now, we can go ahead and add this piece to our black card base, which we set aside, and I almost thought I couldn't find. And we are going to fold this on the score line. Give that a good burnish. And this is going to be a landscape card. So I'm just going to put this down here. And I'm going to be very gentle with my Stampin' Seal so it doesn't rip my paper. So I'm rolling it gently. I'm also putting more than I normally would because this paper has been warped through the die and I want it to lay flat. So let's go ahead and center this up as best we can here. Okay, give that a good press. Let that Stampin' Seal really adhere. Okay, there we go. And there is the beginnings of our card front. Now, let's go ahead and bring this piece back in. And our Stampin' Pierce mat because I don't want to mess up my sentiment, especially now that I've already die cut it. We don't want to start over. So let's bring in our Berry Burst ink. And our stamp that says, "You bring so much joy and laughter to my life." And again, this is part of the Pattern of Friendship bundle. Okay, so I'm using Berry Burst. I'm going to center this in here and try to get it straight. I'm going to let that sit for a second. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay, so that all looks great. Now, I don't like these edges here. So I'm going to take and put this into my trimmer and set that up there. And I'm going to try to make sure that I don't cut off the tips of my balls here on these little dots there. But I do want to go right up to it. Okay, so I'm going to cut that and then I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to make sure that that little dot is not right in my cutting track, but pretty close, and then give that a trim. Okay, so now here is our piece, and you could put this on and be done. Put a little bit of embellishment on there and be happy, right? We could do that. But I felt it needed something a little bit more. And I'm putting extra on here because I'm attaching it to this. But I'm only putting it right to the center. I don't necessarily care about the edges being stuck down. So I'm just going to try and center this up. Let me have my tweezers so I can see around my fat fingers. And I'm going to center this in here like so. Okay. Now, like I said, you could call this good and be done. Yes, if only I could do that. Now let me bring back in that scrap. And I've got some of the butterflies from the sketched butterflies here. And these 3 butterflies actually come all together in your sketched butterflies with one more. Okay, when you get them, they look like this. This is one stamp, okay, like this. And then it would just be one stamp. I wanted to cut mine apart, so I did because I can. And now my butterflies are more versatile, and I can always put them back together on a block and stamp them just like they were meant to be. But right now I have more versatility. So I need 1 large butterfly. And I need 1 of each of these little butterflies. Okay. And that's what I need. All right. Now, I'm going to save us some time because I've already done this. I just wanted to show you what you needed. Okay. I have already colored these. If I can find my envelope. Oh my goodness. What did I do with my envelope? Hopefully this is it. Yes, I believe this is it. Okay. Through the magic of the magic envelope. Voila. Okay. So these are the colors that I used to color the butterflies. Okay, right there. So this one is light pretty in pink with just a bit of shy shamrock, the light shy shamrock. These 3 I did in berry burst and pretty in pink, and I used both the light and the dark of the pretty in pink. Okay, so let's set those out. There is a die for the large butterfly, so you don't have to hand cut that. There is no die for the small butterflies, so unfortunately, you do have to fussy cut those. Now let's go ahead and bring back in our card. And I wanted my butterflies to look like they were really flying. So we're going to put these 2 here like so. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this where this breaks here, and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue along the edge here, and I got too much. So how do we fix that? We bring in our silicone mat and we wipe it off, okay? And then I'm just going to set this down here like this. And because I'm only adhering just the very edge of that butterfly, now I can give it a little press and it'll look like my butterfly's wings are flying. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing with this one over here. little bit of liquid glue. And again, it looks like I got carried away. I'm going to put this here. Give that a press. Get under that wing there. And I'm just going to lift that up a bit while I'm pressing down on that glue. Okay? I'm not really folding it. I'm just bending it, not creasing it, but just lifting it. Okay? And then, of course, for this one, I'm going to put a little bit of glue here in the center. I'm going to stick this over here, just out of the center. Glue that down. Give that a good press. And then I'll be able to lift those. Okay? And finally, for this butterfly, I could just put this on here and be done, but it didn't look quite complete. Okay? So we're going to take this butterfly and we're going to bend him up a bit. All right? I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal. I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. And I'm going to put just a little bit of seal right there in the center of his body. Just like that. I'm going to leave him upside down. I'm pretty sure that's how I did it. Hang on. What did I do with, there it is. And I've got this piece of twisted gold thread. Now, actually, I already had this tied into a bow. And I went, wait, I'm not going to use that. So let me try this. So I'm going to take this end of my gold thread, and then I'm going to wind this around my 4 fingers, bring it back up. I'm going to hold that in the center there. I'm going to push this in and twist it into a figure 8. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to grab my reverse tweezers. Keep a hold of that. Grab my reverse tweezers. Okay. I'm going to spread these apart a little bit. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it down right there into my Stampin' Seal. Okay. I'm going to pull this out a bit. There we go. Okay. So now I've got this. And pull this one down, pull this one up, and then I'm going to take a little bit of tear and tape. I'm just going to pull off a little bit here, and I'm going to put that over the top of my butterfly here, like so. And then I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to burnish that in for those threads. Okay. Then I'm going to lift off that backing. And this little piece that's sticking over the top of the butterfly's head, I'm just going to roll that back. Okay. And now I have this. Okay. And I can take this and add it to my card, like so. Again, I want to burnish in that tear and tape, and then I can lift the wings of my butterfly, and that is my card front. Okay. Now, when I colored my butterflies, of course, you have to have Link and Stella. Well, maybe you don't, but I do. So on the big butterfly, I'm just doing the darker parts, and then I'm just rolling some over on the little butterflies, just like that. And the last part of the front of this card is to take our in color shimmer gems. Okay. And I think I'm going to take the Petunia Pop. And yeah, I know this is Berry Burst and not Petunia Pop, but these are going to look beautiful anyway. And let's just go like this. And let's put another large one down here like so. I like to take the tip of my take your pick tool and give those a good push so that they adhere well. All right, now let's go ahead and add the inside of our card, which I did the same thing with that butterfly here, and then I used the laurel leaf from the border, Fancy Borders. And we're going to add this to the inside of our card. And you guys, you know, the first time I did this, I did these in portrait mode, and then I had to redo them in landscape to fit my card. Okay, then I took the special delivery sentiment and the little heart from the Fancy Borders. Right here, special delivery, and then this cute little heart with the dots. And I put those on the front. And then I put the laurel on the back. Okay, so there you have it. Card number 2, card number 1. And I hope you enjoyed those cards tonight and a peek at the brand new online exclusives that released this morning. Oh, Lynette, that would be a great card for Christmas. You're right. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I am so glad that you like those cards. And I'm glad that I could give you this look that you might not have noticed them so much. So thank you so much. I will be back here next Tuesday night at 7. And just so you know, Facebook has changed the Facebook Live policy, and we used to be able to keep our live videos forever, but they're deleting all those, and now they'll post them for 30 days, and then they'll be gone. So you can always go back and look at these. I upload them onto YouTube, and that happens on a Wednesday morning after I've done the live on Tuesday night. So if you miss it on Facebook, be assured you can still see it on my YouTube channel, which is Teresa Harper, KNT Designs by Teresa. All right, everybody. See you later. Have a good week. Good night. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it so much.